Are you ready to learn the 3 secrets to launching a successful podcast? Hi, I'm Bill, a recent client of the Podcast Mogul. If you've been thinking about starting a podcast but aren't sure where to begin, he's got you covered. He is hosting a free webinar where he will share the 3 secrets that can help you launch, grow, and monetize your podcast without any fancy equipment or technical headaches. Click the link in the show notes to save your spot now and let him help get your podcast off the ground.
Welcome to Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast. Join the podcast mogul Phil Better as he interviews successful entrepreneurs that make their living in the digital world. Now, let's join your host, Phil Better, and his special guest today on Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast. Pardon me. I'm your host, Phil Better, the podcast mogul, and I'm so happy to introduce our guest today. Our guest for over the last 2 decades worked as the general manager of sales for a successful multi-million-dollar business, coaching high-performing, high-commission-based sales teams. But then they established their own personal coaching business, Speech Perfect, in 2007, to provide the tools to empower people to possess the confident voice of self-belief and establishing their personal brand authority. Let's go. As an international conference speaker, contributor to Koch's Business Builders magazine, host of We Are Women podcast, an amazing podcast, I might add, and author of 2 books, Being Unstoppable and Good Girls Do Sell. Our guest coaching includes online training programs, private coaching, workplace training, mastermind groups, which we all know is important, and group seminars. Having presented workshops in many countries around the world, our guest has coached international speech winners and in 2013 represented her country at the International Speaking Contest. A finalist in the BX Business Excellence Award for 4 years. In 2023, our guest won the Logan Chamber of Commerce Business to Business Award for Small Businesses. From Alaska to Japan and New Zealand to Hawaii and around Australia, audiences described our guest as brilliant, powerful, and informative. And now, without further ado and more hurrah, let's welcome our guest, Janeen Vosper, to the show. Janeen, thank you so much for being here. I was completely blinded. Oh my God, I forgot. Such a humiliation, but it's fine. It's audio, so we're good. Janeen, how you doing?
Thanks, Phil. I'm really pleased to be here. This is the second conversation we've had, and I know how much fun it is to be on your show.
I am so excited. Our first conversation was about your podcast, We Are Women, which was amazing. You shared a great story there, and I'll definitely have it linked in the show notes down below. But today we're going to be talking about your journey in entrepreneurship. So with that said, my first question, we're going to jump right into it. Why did you become an entrepreneur? Why did you leave the high successful multi-million-dollar company to be like, no, I'm going out it alone into myself? Why did you invest in yourself?
That's a really good question. And sometimes I'm sure, like every entrepreneur, they might ask themselves that same question when things, you're pushing for business all the time, because really that's what you do a lot when you are in your own business. But that's part of it. It's your own. So the effort and the results are yours, whether they're good or bad, but you're working for yourself. And I think that was a really big point for me. And it was something that, even though I was in the GM role, I started Speech Perfect in 2007. It was on the back burner. Mm-hmm. It is something I suggest for everyone to do who's got a business idea, is to start things while you are working for somebody else. That way you've got the funding to create and get everything ready. So when you step into your entrepreneurial role, your business, a lot of the expenses are covered and you can really focus on growing the business without a lot of outlay. So I did that from 2007, and then the plan was to wrap it up and leave the GM role in 2019. I was very fortunate, and I think this is such an important factor for a lot of people. I had somebody come into the workplace who was a motivating factor for me to leave. Is that a really nice way to put it?
I think that is that's nearly Canadian in politeness level, how to say someone may have been a toxic work environment individual.
That would be a good representation of that person. Very, very different values and ideas on how to look after people and how to look after customers and staff. And I realized, and this is a really big point as well, because when we're getting paid very well, it's sometimes hard to take that step. And we hang on. And the universe, God, whatever your belief is, that will bring a catalyst in, and that becomes that motivating factor. So that's why I say I was blessed that she came in. I didn't particularly think that at the time, but I made the decision to listen to what was being gifted to me and left in 2018, which meant I was very fortunate to have 19, a planning and travel year. I did a lot of travel through Europe just as a gift to myself.
For surviving that individual.
Absolutely. And because her husband and I went to Europe for 3 months, but it was also a really big planning year. We know what happened to the world in 2020, and I would not have got my holidays. And I already had so much in place, online training programs, everything in place. So 2020 wasn't as big a shock as it could have possibly been, because I listened to the gift.
That was this individual. So we can thank them for joining the workforce when they did, because if not, we wouldn't be having this conversation. The world would be in a completely different spot for you and us. Now, obviously, you mentioned the goal was to be out by 2019 originally with Speech Perfect. How did you go about setting those goals, and what can you teach us about goal setting and staying on track?
For me, when I work with people setting goals, and I do this for myself as well, is to have a really big vision about not a goal, but a vision of what you want your life to look like, what you want the lives of other people who you can affect to look like. That vision then keeps you on track with everything you're doing. It's so my vision is to be able to have small business owners take over the world. That's what I want for my vision. I want small business owners to take over the world. My mission is to enable people to do what they don't believe is possible. So you combine those two things. Every day I work towards those points. And that's when I start working with people. They're the two most important factors. No use setting a goal for something unless you really have got the vision and your mission embedded, because everything else will flow from there. And the writing goals is so important. And unless you've set that right as that base framework, there's a very good chance you won't achieve it, because especially if you're just focused on money.
Very true. Something I learned is that money isn't, like, if you're chasing the money, it will never come. But if you're chasing that passion, money just seems to flow to you. I don't understand it. It's something completely different. But I need help setting that big vision. I'm going to be sitting in the place of our audience here. How do you first go about, how would you suggest people go about when they're starting their entrepreneurial journey to set that huge goal, not goal, but vision of what they want to create or change the world how they see fit?
It really is dependent on the industry or the product or the service that they're going to offer. But it's very big picture. Like I said, mine was to, have small business owners, entrepreneurs take over the world. So that is a very big picture, and it's very ambiguous as well. But if that is, I always also say, make it something you can see, something that becomes tangible, rather than looking at big corporate offices. We're looking at all of these individual businesses. They're thinking about with what you do and the millions of people that you are reaching around the world with your podcasts, is how is that affecting their lives? So from that vision is, could be something along the lines of, providing a service to people it's more your mission. And then that gets a bit complicated. The mission usually starts with the word to. to do this, to do something. Imagine it is Mission Impossible and Tom Cruise has been given, if you choose to accept it, that's where the mission comes in. So this is where you choose to accept it. And then you can get more tangible. So if I say my mission is to enable people to do what they don't believe is possible, I will do this by steps within the training things. Yes. So taking it back from these are the services I provide, or this product I provide, then what does that look like as a big picture? I've got a client who has these amazing products called Bath Calm, and it's a meditation and bath products or shower products, but there's a meditation on a QR code on the box as well. It's phenomenal. Her vision isn't to sell those. That's what happens. But her vision is to be able to help people create an environment of calm and love their lives. So it's that bigger picture. By having that, then she can add the products in that will help her achieve that goal of what her vision is. So it's really big picture.
I love that. I love it.
But don't treat it as a goal.
No, I'll use myself as an example. My big picture is to help 1 million podcasters monetize their podcasts. Like that's my big vision, because at that point it's like, okay, I have changed 1 million people's lives. I think I'm good. Like anything, I'm good, right? So like that's my big vision to for this business is to help 1 million podcasters monetize their podcasts. So the mission is to help podcasters monetize their podcast by showing them different methods. There we go. There's my hey, look at that. I got my vision and my mission.
Well, I will ask you, if 1 million people, if you have 1 million podcasters get the opportunity to share their message, what happens then? What is that light at the end of the tunnel if you can do that?
It means I've changed generations, because
that's your vision.
To change generations,
yeah, that's your vision, and your mission is to get 1 million people.
There we go. Look at that. Oh, if that's not proof in the pudding, I don't know what is. For how it does. Now, you've helped hundreds of people change their lives, hundreds of entrepreneurs, small business owners change their lives by setting their goals, setting their vision, moving down and making those plans. Is there one particular maybe story that pops out in your mind that just lets you feel like what you're doing is exactly what you need to be doing?
And I mentioned one of these stories in the podcast interview with someone listening to the podcast and randomly turned up in a small country town in the outback Australia. And this person randomly saw my Gmail address and mentioned that she listened to the podcast and had a big fan moment, and the whole fangirl thing when I said, oh, that's me and that's mine. But it was how she changed her life and her career and moved out of the situation by doing that, and then moved into a different role that then created a life where she could give the opportunity to help her family, which was a very, very big deal for her. So that's one story that particularly sticks out. There's so many of those with I'll go back to the bath time lady.
Oh, yes, I like this lady already, because I'm like, I love meditation. So taking a bath is something I know I need to do.
Fabulous range of products. And there's no amount of thought that's gone into them. But Caroline was working in a corporate role. So it was a very, very big step for her to step into her own business. She just sees a lot of stress in the workplace and just the world on this treadmill of stress. And that became her focus, was to create this calm, as I mentioned in the vision statement. I haven't worded it as well as what she has, of course, but it's just from memory what it was. And that's what she just wanted to do, was to create calm. So for her to create the product, what product is going to be able to do that? And the QR codes was before we just the whole world went crazy on QR codes. This is 8 years ago when I first met her. And we worked together on getting comfortable in her pitch, her sales conversation, how she was going to grow the business. There's all of those points which are so important from goal setting, no doubt, but it's that belief in yourself and belief in what you have to offer the world is the important factor. And that's particularly with Caroline, that's what I worked through, was that take the step, I can do it. And it's not, and there's very few overnight successes, Phil. You're probably aware of that. It takes a few years. 3 years is a good time frame to recognize whether you're having successes or not. And as we know, the world changed a little bit in the last few years. So with Caroline's business, it's now really hitting that tipping point. And seeing what that's bringing to her, the excitement. And this is one of the things in our own business, isn't it? When we see those successes, again, the bottom line is really nice because it creates the lifestyle that we want. But it's that knowing within yourself, you've created something that is yours. I think it's the best way to say that. It's you and it's yours. I don't think there's any better feeling. I'm so proud of what she's created. It's quite amazing.
Listen, that is just an amazing story. Like I heard the story about the lady you met in the small town, which is, as a podcaster, it's like, oh my God, like I would be fangirling as much as the listeners probably fangirling. Getting that type of feedback and hearing how much the podcast changed someone's life. But on the business side, having this lady who was terrified to quit her corporate job, which we all know because we all grew up being told, hey, the corporate world's the safest place. And in the last few years, we've seen it's not so much, but still we have that ingrained belief. Take the leap. And now her business is flourishing and she's getting to live the life that she wants. And it's pretty much thanks to you kind of kicking her in the butt.
She's taken amazing action. And that's a really important factor. You can get all the information, you can pay for all of the training courses, you can do all of that. But if you don't take action on it and if you don't get uncomfortable. Now, as a sales coach, one of the things I say to people all the time, you've got to get on the phone. It's not enough to be on social media and emailing people. You have to get on the phone, build connection, and talk to people. That's the way you're going to build connection. You're going to build rapport. You're going to grow your business. And here am I this week following up. I've got some workshops running in the next few weeks. And so that's what I've been doing in the last 2 days, is getting on the phone. And it's not getting on the phone, hey, Phil, I'm here to sell you something. It's have a conversation, find out what's been going on. And particularly the area that I live in has had some terrible storms through the last, it's summer here in Brisbane at the moment. We live in a tropical area. So we've had some tropical storms and it's taken out power. People have been nearly 2 weeks without power. Trees down over power lines, and I've brought in the army to help clear it. So it's been quite traumatic. So if I go in and start talking about, hey, you did this workshop last year on goal setting, how about you come back now? It's not going to hit the mark. And you can't do that in an email. You've got to make phone calls. You've got to get uncomfortable. If you're not uncomfortable, then you are going to fail in business. I'm sorry to say that. You have to get uncomfortable.
As a millennial, as particularly an elder millennial, I despise talking on the phone. So that is a huge discomfort, but it is something that I need to overcome. And I love that we hit it. We hit on that point. How being uncomfortable in business, when does it start becoming comfortable again? Like when do I say, hey, okay, I'm comfortable at this? Should I take on too many discomforts in business, or should I just focus on one at a time? What is your suggestion?
I don't think I'm ever going to get comfortable around accounting and bookkeeping. No, I do lie. My bookkeepers helped me. At least I can consolidate everything and send it off to her now through accounting software. It's doing things. It's doing things over and over and over and over and over again. You know, people, one of my things is I can pitch anybody's business. I can pull a pitch out for anything. If I hear what you do, I can pitch your business. Did I just learn how to do that last week? No, I have been in sales for over 30, let's go with 30 years.
We'll go with 3 decades. Make it sound nicer.
3 decades. Hence why I can do that. And plus words are my thing because I'm a speaker coach as well. So you put the two together, it becomes a pitch. And I can, but it's not something I learned to do yesterday. And it's everything in your business. A lot of people move into their own business because they're a good technician. They might be a good massage therapist, or they might be great at IT, or they might be good at marketing. So create the business because they're a good technician. But there's so many other components to running a business that they have to be aware of, that they're the things that are going to get uncomfortable. They would probably never get uncomfortable when they're doing a massage. But if they have to do some social media marketing, that might make them very uncomfortable doing it. And I've got some clients in my mastermind that will not do videos. And I'm getting there. 2 years and I'm getting there. There's one lady in particular, it just is so uncomfortable on videos, but I've recorded her doing testimonials for me. So we've got that far, but talking about herself is not her thing at all. She didn't mind talking about someone else, but not herself. There'll be components within your business, and the more you do it, it just becomes more and more comfortable to do. And some things may never become comfortable. I remember reading about Barbara Streisand, that every time she goes on stage, she's physically ill. Can you imagine that?
I get butterflies. I love, and I've been told I get butterflies every time I'm about to do a podcast because, one, I don't know how the episode's going to go.
Yeah.
Luckily, Janine, my butterflies were very small when it came to this one. But when I first jumped on the podcast with you on the other episode, my butterflies were huge because I was unaware how well the podcast was going to go. And that's my biggest fear, that I'm going to make either a fool of myself, a fool of myself is fine. I'm used to that. But a fool of my guest, which is, I hurt that guest's reputation, because that's the biggest thing that we have in the world is our reputation. And I take great honor and care when a guest comes on because I don't want anything to happen to that. But yeah, it's very uncomfortable doing podcasts and doing videos all the time because you always have to be ready and available.
You do. And as I said, I coach in public speaking and presenting. That butterflies, that's something that like everybody gets to before they go on stage. And if you can shift it from a nervous feeling to an excited feeling, which is, a bit like you're getting on a roller coaster. It's that nerves, but it's really exciting. That's it. They're very much the same feeling. They're using that feeling and rather than saying to yourself, because what we tell ourselves we believe is that I'm excited rather than I'm nervous about something. It really shifts the mindset because the subconscious starts believing that feeling now is excited rather than nervous.
Great mindset shift. All it is simple mind shift, and you're set a different way and different goals and visions and that. I do have a question. I want to ask you about investing in yourself because obviously that is the topic of the show, the title of the show. So as a coach, speaker, and entrepreneur, continual personal development is crucial. Can you share specific investments you made in your own growth, whether through courses, mentors, or personal practices that have been instrumental in enhancing your coaching and speaking capabilities? And how do those investments contribute to your ongoing success and impact?
If you don't invest in yourself, there's a very good chance that you won't have success in business because you don't know everything. And as you mentioned, even just about the bookkeeping, it's not I'd race off and do a bookkeeping course, but I invested in a bookkeeper to look after that component. I have invested, and I was going to say the word spent, but I haven't spent money. I've invested in myself, a lot of money in myself over my career. And every time I have, it's been looking for the next level coach. So what I just always done, and I've done this for a very long time, is at the start of the year, I would say, what personal development do I want to achieve this year? And what professional development do I want to achieve this year? And that would be where I would then look for the right coach, trainer to invest in. And that's the important factor, is finding the right person. There's a lot of 20-year-old life coaches out there that might not be, for me, at my stage in life, a 20-year-old life coach may not be the best investment for me. It's finding the person who has got the runs on the board. That is such an important factor. I've got a financial advisor who is successful themselves. You look for people who are successful in what they do. I remember I did a week of speaker training. This is 20 plus years ago. And I was already doing speaking and doing speaker training, but I wanted to up it to the next level. And that's something to recognize as well. You can get to a certain level, but if you're not getting feedback on how you're going at that level, then even if you are that massage therapist, you will need to do some extra training. And I traveled I'm in Brisbane. I traveled to Sydney for a week and had the investment of the course, the investment of the accommodation, travel to the accommodation, and it was the most uncomfortable training that I have ever come across. For 3 days, we weren't allowed to use expressions on your face. Probably noticed I used that a bit. No hands, no gestures, nothing for 3 days. And to be able to stand, and just in presenter stance, hands down by the side, and to be able to deliver your message, but make sure that your voice is animated and not necessarily your gestures.
That must have been so fun.
Well, it caused breakdowns for everybody. It really, I was amazed at the challenge of just how difficult it was. But now I have no issue at all of standing in front of 1,000 people in an audience and just being present and standing there and not having to do all of the big gestures and things to, engage the audience. I can plan those things, but not do them as unconsciously. Everything's very conscious, natural.
I like that. I love that. Ooh, that is a good training. I'm going to have to go look at that training because maybe it can help me with the podcasting.
And look, another one, I spent a whole year coaching, weekly coaching, and it was a lot of the IT components where that wasn't my expertise, automated emailing, just setting up a whole lot of background things that now my life's so easy. I have scheduled out, I've got workshops running all year. So on my email list, I've scheduled out the reminders to clients to the email list for the whole year. I know.
Hey, I'm 100% behind that. I teach people how to use for podcasting, how to use the automation emails to help guests get the best thing, to, for fans and automate. Like I rarely post for people to come on my podcast because I have set up so many automations and to fill my calendar so that I'm good. That's the one thing.
Yes. Yeah. You don't have to be as organized as having all these set out the year ahead. But it means I have a lot of free time to travel because I don't have to worry about it anymore. So the day I spent doing it all last week when it's quiet and there's not a lot going on, it's done and I can be on the road and people get their emails going, I thought Janine was on the road somewhere. We're out back Australia.
I don't think they have service out there. That's amazing. Janine, we are coming to the end. I had, again, another amazing time chatting with you about business this time and not just your podcast. Before we go, I would love to get a piece of advice from you for your 10-year-old self? Because I'm starting a book for my nephew who's 5. I want to give him a whole bunch of advice from amazing entrepreneurs like yourself. So one piece of advice to the 10-year-old self, yourself, what would it be?
I think for me, the advice I would have given myself is trust in yourself. Really be aware that recognize the fact that you've got that skill and knowledge. It's not just for somebody else, it can be for you. And to take that leap of faith and trust that you can do it. I think that's something that a lot of people get stuck into in jobs, jobs, because they don't trust that they might be successful.
I love it. I love it. Janine, I'm going to jump off stage here. Please let my audience know where they can contact you if they're looking for some help in setting their goals for their own journey. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Phil. So you can get in touch with me by going to janeenvosper.com and booking in a 30-minute complimentary session, and we can have a chat about what you want to build and what you want to create within your own business. Got a couple of workshops coming up on goal setting very soon. So check it out on Eventbrite, Humanitix, and also on my website. I would love for us to have a further conversation.
And of course, you already know you're going to get the emails ahead of time because they're scheduled. Smart. Janine, thank you once again for being an amazing guest on my podcast. It's been another pleasure chatting with you.
Thank you, Phil. I've loved it. Really enjoyed it.
To my audience, make sure you check out all the show notes down below to connect with Janine. I'll have the links there as well. And I'll probably be trying to get a link to the bath meditation lady as well. Bath comb, because that sounds just wonderful. And why not? Maybe they have an affiliate program that we can get some money for the podcast. But anyways, Janine, thank you again. My listeners, thank you for listening. And remember to always invest in yourself.
Thanks for tuning in. Now it's time to take the next step. When you're ready to dive deeper into how to launch, grow, and monetize your podcast, Phil's got something special for you. Join him for a free webinar where he'll reveal the 3 secrets that have helped countless entrepreneurs succeed in podcasting. Click the link in the show notes to save your spot, and let's turn your podcasting dreams into reality.